Hello and welcome to my channel on Ancient in Chinese Astrology. I am professional astrologer Zagata from the website 100%astrology.com, and I would like to make a video in which I will share an astrological question about surgery. So here we go. This is a nice couple to keep in mind. So this is a question that was asked to me by a client of mine 3 years ago almost. And so first let me preface this by saying obviously that by opening with a disclaimer, I'm not offering any medical advice. I'm not a medical practitioner. I'm simply a professional astrologer. I'm reading a chart. I'm using ancient astrology, which is a science and an art that was in continuous use for over 1000 years. So this is ancient knowledge that has proven itself over the millennia. So this is the question, and let me provide some background, some history. So this client of mine, he is very active in various sports, and he had a physical problem, and he started visiting various specialists, medical specialists. He visited, I don't quite remember, I believe at least three here in Bulgaria, in various cities, and he also visited another one, a professor in another country. And these 3 or 4 or 5 specialists, they were all unanimous, saying to him, you should have surgery. We've seen many cases like this. The condition that you have, it cannot be healed naturally. It will just, drag on, and it will, as time continues. We've had people come back and have the surgery, etc. Don't delay, have the surgery. So he had asked me questions before, so he was familiar with this earnest feeling, earnest sensation to know the truth now. This asking the horary question. And let me also say that this is divination, as this is my channel on Ancient in Chinese Astrology. In my latest video, I showed an example of predicting the movements of crypto assets, cryptocurrencies, etc. Also with divination. Also here another horary question about a job offer. So the point is that this is divination. This does not use the natal chart of a given man or woman. It uses the time when I, the astrologer, understand the question and draw a chart at that time. And this is because, as I've written and explained, this is because the person asking the question, called querent in astrology, the asking party is using their own free will to find resonance, in an attempt to find resonance with creation. In this case, astrology, the sky. In other cases, it could be tarot cards, it could be Chinese methods of divination, it could be, there are so many ways, so many methods. Coin toss, etc., Jijin, etc. But the point is that if you want to ask a question, you should have a sincere and earnest desire to do so. You can't ask out of curiosity. Curiosity is not a valid reason by itself. I can speak. I can talk about this a lot, but unless you experience it, it will be difficult to fully understand what I mean. It's just people who have asked questions once or 2 or 3 times. They know what I'm talking about. It's you just get this inkling, this sudden urge to ask, to know, and because this divination branch, the divination branch is sort of a shortcut. It's an excellent shortcut, but it can be abused, and especially by greedy astrologers and greedy people who feel like asking questions way too often. And again, if the reason I'm explaining this is because, as you will see in this chart, when the question is sincerely asked, the chart inevitably shows the truth and matches, describes the situation perfectly. But when you don't have this, it's as I like to say, that the heavens, the creation is not touched, is not it does not take your question to heart, and hence is not moved to reflect your situation. So again, this can be, for example, with these questions, with questions about financial matters, I mean about financial markets, it can be tricky. Again, you have to, because what I'm getting at is that in ancient astrology we have what I'm doing here, traditional horary astrology, we have considerations before judgment, and these considerations were put there for a reason. So it's best to observe them, especially if you don't have enough experience. But in general, it's always best to check for them, and yeah. So the point. So as I will describe here, these considerations before judgment, they are not always applicable. For example, here in this financial question, I can't. It's not quite the same, because depending on how many significators the astrologer is using, they can't always check whether the chart is what we call radical. In other words, whether the chart is fit to be judged. So in this case, we see that checking these the major considerations before judgment, we see that the lord of the hour lord is Jupiter, and Jupiter is a sanguine planet, and the ascendant is sanguine, namely Gemini. So the hour lord fits the ascendant by humoral nature. So this shows that the chart, one indication that the chart is radical, also fit to be judged. Also, the hour lord is angular, another indication that the chart is radical. Another indication is that the hour lord is aspecting the ascendant degree very closely, also third indication. And there are even more. For example, the moon, which is a secondary significator and which shows the flow of events, and also significator of the human body, if you will, the moon is in the ascendant, and the ascendant rules the physical body. So this is another. The lord of the ascendant is in the 6th house of illness and injury also. So plenty of in fact, too many, but great, the more the merrier. So this was the question: should I have surgery or not? Now, so as not to disclose personal data, what I will share is that the surgery, potential surgery, it involved Libra, and what the image or zodiac, or I hate this word, astrological sign, zodiacal sign rules. So whatever rules Libra rules in the body, this was the part of the body that the native was asking about, considering about surgery. So let's see. So so first of all, there are several methods of ascribing significators and judging such questions about surgery. Again, this is divination. This is not natal astrology, so things are not as cut and dry. In fact, they are not cut and dry at all. So some astrologers use different methods. Again, it depends. It's horary astrology, or questions it should be called, or interrogational astrology should better be called contextual astrology, because depending on the context, the significators can change a lot. So the method I'm using is also English astrologer, traditional astrologer John Frawley also uses it. It assigns the first house. Obviously, everyone uses the first house for good reason, because the first house always rules the ascendant, always shows the physical body and the querent, the person asking the question. And also, so the 7th house is the doctor, and the 10th house is the surgery, the operation. So again, depending on if the question is asked in a different way, if it doesn't necessarily concern surgery, it's an overall health question, I will judge it differently. But again, this since the question pertains to surgery, this is how I'm judging it. Also, we can also use Mars, as obviously Mars is the scalpel, Mars cuts. So Mars as the significator of universal significator of surgery, doctors, etc. So in this case, surgery. So what we see here is that we have extremely negative indications. The first one is that Jupiter, ruling the doctor and the surgery, is opposing the ascendant degree. It's like within minutes, extremely negative, the most negative aspect possible. You know, it doesn't matter that Jupiter is a benefic, but Jupiter is contrary to the sect, Jupiter is above the horizon, etc., etc. So it doesn't matter. What matters is that it's opposing the ascendant, which is the physical body. It's also regarding the moon by opposition. In fact, the moon will later on also oppose Jupiter. Extremely negative. You know, both the doctor and the surgery would hurt the body of the native, of the querent, the person asking the question. Furthermore, another most negative indication is that the Lord of the 10th, in this case the surgery, and even the Lord of the 7th is in its own domicile. I mean, it would automatically be in its own domicile when it's in the 7th, but the point is that it's receiving the Lord of the Ascendant in his detriment. So Jupiter is receiving Mercury in Mercury's detriment. Extremely negative indication. So he should not undergo surgery. And obviously, if it had been a square, the less negative aspect here from Pisces, the right square, the superior, it would still be receiving Mercury both in detriment and in fall. But if Jupiter had been here, in other words, the doctor, the surgery had been here by square, it would have been not as severe, because it would have been the other way around. The native would have received the doctor and the surgery. So two extremely negative indications for this question, so as that show he should not have surgery. Do we have more? In fact, we do. We see that the moon. We see that, and speaking of also of radicality of the chart, we see that the Lord of the Ascendant is disposed by Mars, and Mars is in the 5th of sports, and Mars also is a significator of sports. So this is the dispositor of the planet, showing the cause, the origin of that planet. We see that the cause of the native developing this condition is that the planet is in is sports, because the significator is in the 5th house of sports, the dispositor. So this also, and this was actually the case. So this is also greatly describing the chart. So the point I'm making is that speaking of Mars, is that the moon applies to Mars. The moon scrutinizes Mars with a trine. Now, a modern astrologer would say that, you know, it's a trine. The malefic will not, even if they use the concept malefic, which I doubt, but let's say they do. The malefic will not harm. Actually, wrong, because the ancient sources are explicit about this. A malefic planet which is afflicted will afflict with all of its aspects, even the trine. So this is also a negative testimony, a negative indication. Furthermore, Mars is in detriment, and what is worse, in fact, is that because sometimes when a planet is in detriment, especially in horary astrology, it can describe the given situation or problem. In this case, it's the Mars surgery is in Libra, the part of the body that the native is considering whether to have surgery on or not. So the bigger problem is that Mars is under the rays of the sun, and also that Mars is astronomically invisible. So we see that the surgery will not be able to see. The surgery will miss something, and also because Mars is in detriment means disintegration. Extremely the worst possible condition. I mean, some astrologers say that fall is worse. I disagree. Detriment is worse. Again, it depends, but in this case, detriment is worse. And so the moon applying to Mars shows, again, the surgery will miss something, or something will disintegrate, and it will afflict the body, because again the moon is secondary significator of the body. So I mean, there's so it's just that there is nothing to corroborate what the other doctors are saying. The chart is extremely explicit and unambiguous. He should not undergo surgery, and I told him this, and in fact I wrote this down, because I always write down my delineations and my predictions and send them by email, or give them in person if the person is in my location. This was my prediction as to what happened. Well, I'm very pleased to report that he trusted me. He took my advice. And again, I'm a professional astrologer. I don't heal. I provide information. I provide information that's always thoroughly researched and substantiated. So the client always makes their own decisions. So he decided not to have surgery, and he had tried various natural methods prior to asking me the question. They were not successful, but as he decided not to have surgery, he kept on looking, and he came across other natural methods that were successful. And I'm very pleased to report that 3 years later, in fact today is the 8th of October, 3 years short of 9 days, he did not have surgery, and he is in excellent shape, and he continues to play sports very actively, almost, how should I say, competitively. In fact, I would not say professionally, but very competitively. And very pleased to hear that, and that it's amazing how we can use these, as some people mistakenly call, the planet symbols. They're not symbols. This knowledge, this ancient, this eternal knowledge, and help others. And let me be explicit about this. Not all charts are that clear. There are charts that are very murky and that require a lot of sifting through, and a lot of picking apart the significations and the meanings, and etc. But I'm glad that I was able to help this client, and he made the decision not to have surgery, and he has been able to continue his life and his sports activities uninterrupted. And let me also say that there are cases, speaking of this surgery, that have left people paralyzed. So this is not something, I put a scalpel here for a reason. This is not something to take lightly at all. And when a young person is asking you, this is any form of potential harming to the body should be really carefully examined, because again, a small mistake when you're cutting the part of the body that's ruled by Libra, it's So yes, basically this is what I wanted to share. This is my channel, Ancient in Chinese Astrology. If you would subscribe, if you would like the video, I would really appreciate it. Yes, if you have a question or comment, I would be glad to answer. Thank you.